So, number 1 rule is, you have a penis now. Get used to it. Having a pretend penis in a play is super exciting. Let me tell you what. It changes the way that you move and the way that you sit. So, obviously the first rule is, no standing like this because you're crushing things. You don't want to pass out on stage. Give it some air. Have fun with it. Let it be free. So, legs always shoulder width apart if you can help it. More if you're very commanding. But always give it room to play. You're wearing boxers. You're wearing something. There's nothing thong-like going on here. This is all about movement. You can walk and be free. That's really important. And when you're walking, try to make room for it. You've seen cowboys when they've been riding on horses, they're sore, they don't want to think about it anymore, and they're walking like this. Like, they're just letting it be free. You've got to keep that in mind as you're standing. So, also, by the way, for the purposes of this workshop, please feel free to throw out comments. I really prefer that to like me talking the entire time. Alright, the really important thing with penises though, because standing is standing, that's one thing. Sitting is something completely different. The first part, here's a handy little trick that'll make you seem automatically sort of manly even if you're not that convincing.
Just step right in. She's going over leave room for your penis. That's the first rule of
First
being a
rule
man.
of Stod's rules for being a man is leave room for your penis. So, alright, so there's that handy little trick of pulling up your pants. That's a really nice detail that will make people think you've put a lot more time into your manliness than maybe you have. So, you're coming to the chair, here, pitch, and sit. And there is room. There's room for anything that you might have going on or that you want to pretend you have going on, just in case you can compensate again. Like, yeah, feel free to like, try around. This is not formal. So, leave room, hang out. If you have to be kind of together, just leave even a little bit of space. Like, you don't have to be like, hey! You can be a little bit more casual about it, but nothing like this. No knees together. Your knees should never touch, and if you're a man, unless someone has hit you in the balls, in which case you could be like all over the place. But
crossing.
and the next part, exactly. Know this, because that is the death sign for men. Your options are ankle on the knee, an old favorite. Let's see. And then it's hard for men. They don't have many options. Like women, you can do ankles, you can do knee. Men, it's basically this if you want to cross your legs. That's about what you've got. And it can feel super awkward. Like your balance is different because you're on both butt cheeks, which you don't do as a girl. If you've ever noticed, girls are always listing to one side. You're over here, you're over here. You're constantly using one butt cheek at a time. That's really what you're doing. As a man, you're always on the level. You're never going to be over here, nothing, none of that. Both legs, both sides of your waist are going to be in that. So you can mess around with that. Every character, of course, you're going to come up with your own thing because they'll have their own mannerisms, they'll have their own quirks, they'll be more effeminate, more authoritative. I mean, an old man might be sitting in his chair and kind of find it, and we're there. Or a young guy might kind of flop down it, and you don't care. You can find a million ways to do these movements so long as you're keeping the idea that there's something between your legs. It's not the same way that you sit as a 20-something girl or a late teenage girl. It's just got to be outside of the norm for you, whatever that might be. Any other points on having a penis?
How about, where do you put your hands when you're sitting?
I was going to do a whole thing on you.
Okay.
So,
I won't mess up your order.
oh, don't even worry about it. I don't know. Obviously, I put these rules together out of things that are ideal, not necessarily things that I've mastered by any means. But we'll do a whole thing on hands in a minute. All right.
Kate, do you want a real chair?
Yeah, who else can, I don't want you guys out of the thing.
Yeah, does anybody else need a proper chair?
There's one right here.
Yeah, chair here. Get involved, people.
I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Right, you're Robin.
I'm Robin. This is my Crosby Ann.
Hi.
Crosby Ann. We're doing a band
Welcome.
workshop. Oh, we're not
Learn to be a man.
Yeah, I don't want to scare you away.
If you want like a proper chair to participate, I can go.
All right.
Yeah, feel free if you feel so inclined.
Here, could somebody, what's our name again? in one of their pieces of paper. I did not print that enough.
This is the next
Alright.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys can take them home or hand them to who wants them, but just for now, so you can see what we're
There's
doing.
also, okay.
Alright, rule number 2, take boobs out of the equation. This is actually easier than it sounds, because even though we move with an awareness of breasts, that's the first thing you think of when you become a man is, oh, well, I guess I don't have these anymore. I'm lucky that, like Mount Holyoke, I don't have a big endowment. It makes my life when playing men. So, this really only becomes a thing when you're crossing your arms or when you're affectionate with another character on the stage. So, for crossing your arms, you have 2 options. If you can think of more, let me know. There are 2 that I know of. Because as a girl, you do the boob shelf. You're under the breasts, there's a curve there.
And you're on one hip.
You're on one hip, there's a lot of leaning, but you're right underneath, because you're not going to be up here, because it hurts. Like, it's like, this is like protective as a girl, like you're not up here. So, you can't just do a higher boob cross, because even if you're playing a man, the audience knows you're a girl, and it looks like, it doesn't look right. So the 2 options you have are straight arm across. That works pretty well because it's a little more natural coming from here to here. Your other option is the Mr. Clean. That's about what you've got, which is very much more authoritative and gripping your biceps and look at my arms.
Can you do both arms behind? Or is that weird?
Sure.
That's like how my brother, but I think
Sure.
he's pushing on his muscles.
Yeah, absolutely. No, like if you see, like absolutely. So show me that one more time. Like that.
Like that.
I think the only danger with that is pushing your boobs up, but if you're bound, that would probably work really
Right,
well.
right.
Yeah, because it's giving me cleavage.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a cleavage push, but if you're bound, then that's not an issue. But for me, I find that the only difference I feel between this and this is a sort of idea of I'm shy and protective, or I'm in charge here. That's about the only difference. And you can pick for your character what feels right for how they would move. What do they think they would do in this situation? Do they think they're presenting something with this? This is always a little bit like, I shall make it so. So you gotta play with that. Or avoid arm crossing, if you can help it. I mean, that's a really classic acting thing is, I'm protective, I'm crossing my arms. I'm authoritative, I'm crossing my arms. I'm defiant, I'm crossing my arms. Find ways to do it, you know? If you really, especially if you're chesty, just leave them alone. Like, do everything you can to de-emphasize this area. But if you must cross your arms, if it feels like something your character would really do, that one, pretty safe bets. Just lower on your body.
Would you do hands on hips at all?
I'm gonna talk about it.
Oh, cool.
You can look at my list, girl.
I'm sorry.
All right, the only other time that boobs becomes a thing is if you're affectionate with another character on stage, which I So, as a guy being affectionate, you know, there's kind of like pushes, knocks, arm over shoulder. This can get weird when you're pretending you don't have boobs that are pressing into somebody. As a girl, with a real guy, I'm not gonna actually touch you, but with a real guy, you might put your hand on his chest, you might put your hand on his shoulder. There's a lot of affection and touching, and even if you're really convincing, your partner acting with you or the audience probably won't feel totally comfortable seeing a hand anywhere there. It looks awkward, you're gonna feel awkward. Like unless you're really convinced that you're in your character, you're method acting, whatever else, it's a weird thing. So one thing we did in rehearsal recently was Rachel wanted Lydian to touch my chest and it just didn't look right, so we went to like patting the belly. But, so just go below or above is
We
really the
also
thing.
have like a friendly tussle between brothers.
Yeah.
We're having a little.
Yeah, that's definitely hard because you just need to stay away from the area. The more attention that the audience puts towards any movement there, the more the illusion gets broken. So, touching the shoulder, if you're a girl, kind of touching here, pretending there's nothing going on, or touching the face. And then for a guy, just keeping sort of a space there. Because the more that you're pushing, the more that's like, hello. So just kind of watch out when you're touching another person, because whether or not we realize it as girls, we are rubbing those up on things without even, like at a certain point, seriously,